This is Motorsport Radio.
So, as a special preview, this weekend we have the final round of the TCR UK series. The first season of the series is coming to an end, and it's taking place at Donington Park. And as part of the preview this evening, we're speaking to the TCR UK Media coordinator. We're talking to Mark James. Good evening, Mark.
Hello, Phil. Hello, Lester.
Hello. Welcome to Touring Car Talk.
Oh, you're very kind. Thank you. Thank you for the invitation.
Not a problem. We're going to have a chat, as I was saying, with Mark about TCR UK. Also going to have a quick mention of TCR Europe and also WTCR and the TCR phenomenon worldwide as we start. So, keeping on track, first of all, Mark, and a series you're very well involved in. So, first of all, how does it feel to reach the final weekend of the first season of TCR UK? We finally made it here.
It seems quite odd. Jen Maratzing, who's the championship manager, sent out all the documentation to the teams yesterday and said it hardly seems like yesterday that we were at Silverstone for the first round, or even before that at the sort of the series launch at Silverstone. And it really doesn't seem like 6 months. And we've whizzed through. I've also been commentating on TCR Europe, and so fitting in the 6 rounds of UK, 6 rounds of Europe, and then back-to-back weekends, we've reached the end of TCR UK this weekend, and then the following weekend in Barcelona, it's the end of TCR Europe. So for me, where did 2018 go?
I'll be honest, I completely agree. I'm sort of sitting here thinking it's October, and I remember being at Silverstone back at Easter on a very cold and windy weekend thinking, wow, this is the start of it, and suddenly here we are reaching the end. So no, I completely agree, along with all the other TCR action we've been watching as well. So as a lot of people may know or may not know if they're not regular viewers of TCR UK, the championship itself has come to the final round. It comes down to 2 men, which is obviously Daniel Lloyd, who's driving for West Coast Racing, and Ollie Taylor, who's driving for Pyro Motorsport. It's not often, I know something we've discussed sort of on previous shows about sort of championships with gimmicks and how you get to the last race and the title being sold in the last race of the year. This happens, and obviously there's been the various twists and turns along the way. How does it feel to get to this point, knowing that we're going to have a champion crowned on the final day?
Well, no gimmicks, nothing going on behind the scenes. It is what it is. We didn't think, let's be honest, that we'd be in this situation because Dan had that amazing run of victories in the first half of the season, and it's not kind of worked out for him in the second half of the season. So he had the 6 wins straight off the bat, together with the pole position. So he took maximum points from the first 3 rounds. And then Ollie won at Castle Combe in that sort of controversial last lap incident where they came together and Dan was penalised for it. Then we had the situation at Alton Park where we had Ash Sutton come in, win both races. Then at Croft, you had the situation where Andreas Beckmann switched to the Honda and won first time out in the car. And in the second race, Ollie Taylor took his second victory of the year, a DNF for Dan, which is very unusual for West Coast Racing. So we're at the situation now where the 2 of them are 31 points apart with a possible 91 up for grabs at Donington. So whichever driver takes it, whether it's Dan with his 7 victories or Ollie with 2 victories and a string of really consistent podium finishes, I think we have a worthy champion that'll be crowned on Sunday.
And I suppose the one question on everyone's lips is obviously, who would we like to see win? We'd like to see Dan win. We've, like I say, a string of victories he's worked hard for all year, or Ollie coming up as the underdog and fighting back. Do you have a personal choice? Are you happy to see either win?
That's like asking me to choose my favourite child, isn't it?
Okay.
No, it's I would be more than happy to see either of the drivers win it for different reasons. Obviously, Dan, very, very professional, experienced at TCR international level, driving for West Coast Racing, who've competed in not 1 but 2 TCR championships this year. They've already secured the team's title. They've had a string of podiums with Andreas and with Jessica. And then you look at Ollie, who's come into TCR for the first time. Very much a steep learning curve for him. Made the switch from the FK2 Honda to the FK7 during the year. So, I mean, whichever driver gets it, they'll have won it on merit. And really, I don't have a favourite. I would be delighted for either driver.
And as would we as well, to be honest. Like I say, and everyone who has competed this year has had to get used to TCR machinery. Like you say, Dan's had a bit of experience from his time last year in TCR International, and it also brings to light as well, with regards to having people like Dan, West Coast Racing, taking part. They've got the experience. Everyone's sort of playing catch up as well, and it has been, I think it's safe to say, a very good job done by everyone. Pyro at Verizon, etc., as they get used to the cars, understanding them, because the racing hasn't been affected in any way. As far as I've seen, the TCR racing we've had in the UK has been the same same exciting spectacle that we've seen, in TCR Europe and other domestic championships around the world.
I think it's a testament to the professionalism of the teams that we've got, that the vast majority of them didn't have any experience of TCR. They hit the ground running. You've got the likes of Maximum Motorsport with Stuart Lines, who started the year as a one-man band. Carl Swift very sensibly joined him so that they were running the two Cupras as a single entity, as it were. And the really frustrating thing is talking to Carl. Obviously, he's back with us for Donington after missing Croft because of the accident at Alton Park. But they'd brought an engineer over from Cupra Racing for Alton, and both cars made quite steady progress over the course of the weekend. Stuart was really quick. Carl was really quick. They were on course for their best result. And then in race 1, you saw Carl go off. In race 2, you saw the contact between Dan Lloyd and Stuart. So frustration, but they know they're heading in the right direction. And that's the positive for the teams that aren't experienced at TCR and are learning every time they go out on track with the cars.
And part of, again, like I say, there's been a lot of expectation as well for the first year of the series, both by the fans. We've had social media, other interested people from other series around the world, domestic and international. I remember recalling an interview from Jonathan Ashman earlier in the year, I think about halfway through the season, being asked about how the series had felt with its expectations. Had it met expectations? Was it looking, is TCR UK themselves looking to see where they are and understanding, yes, this is what we've got, this is where we expect to be? How has that changed since? Because obviously we've had, fluctuating grids due to, like you say, big accidents, cars being repaired, drivers struggling with budgets, etc. How do things look now as we get towards the end of the season?
Quite a difficult question to answer, in that for us it was a clean sheet of paper. And you've seen other TCR championships around the world launch over the last few years. Germany is the one that's been quoted to us, where they launched with, 20 cars, and they were at 44 in year 2, and they've now settled back to the upper 20s. I think when you look at any TCR championship launch, then there are bound to be question marks over the size of the grids, because TCR is new. The teams have to invest in buying the cars. There are now cars in the UK, which means that, fingers crossed, we've got a good platform to build on for year 2. But the two things that we said we would deliver at the beginning of the year, we have done, to the astonishment of some people, but to the great satisfaction of others, like me, where we've delivered, or we will have delivered, 7 race meetings, 14 races. And from my side of things, we'll have delivered the whole social media, the live streaming, and that can only be good for next year. We can build on what we've already done.
So, and as you say, it's a lot has been expected. You guys have delivered it. I personally feel, and a lot of fans have agreed, a really good spectacle. Now, with TCR UK being currently the newest championship in operation, the TCR spectacle itself worldwide is growing. There's already been quite a bit of news with TCR Australia being announced a little while ago, and also this year we've had the FIA World Touring Car Cup, or WTCR, come into effect for a 2-year period currently, and TCR Europe itself has changed from a 1 weekend event as a cup to a 7 series event. So with regards to that, how do you think the worldwide expansion of TCR itself, how can you see that improving? What's the secret behind it? How does it work so well?
I think you've got to go back to the very beginning. The reason why Marcello Lotti came up with the concept of TCR, which was that he felt that, I suppose in many ways, touring car racing has lost its way in certain markets, where, you go back to the 90s and you could compete with the same car in however many championships around the world. And that had largely been lost. And so he wanted to get back to one rule set, one set of cars that you could take anywhere in the world. And this pyramid, I remember writing the first ever press release about TCR when it was called TC3. And it was this whole pyramid of national, regional and international championships that any one car could enter. And we've done that. And I think even if you asked Marcello, he'd be the first to say that he would never have dreamt that 3 years after launch, the World Cup, the World Championship, had adopted TCR regulations, that we'd have something like 30 championships around the world, with more looking to come in. Yes, you've mentioned Australia. TCR Korea has already launched this year. Obviously, Hyundai as a domestic manufacturer with them, so it's important. There have been all sorts of stories about TCR Japan launching. There are a couple of others in the pipeline, so that we will see more TCR championships grow up over the coming years, and also new manufacturers, new brands coming in. We're already at 14. The Fiat Tipo TCR is the latest of them, but there are other manufacturers, other brands looking to come into TCR because they can see what we've already done and where we're going.
So again, like I say, not just the series growth. Obviously, like I said, with TCR Korea, getting underway this year, as well as obviously TCR UK, TCR Australia, being a series getting underway next year. It's also the manufacturers as well joining in, having a go. The Fiat Tipo we've heard about, and other manufacturers taking part as well. So the whole TCR concept is growing. Considering I believe we're in year 4, I think it is now, if the memory serves. Not only that, like I say, the other big addition we've had is WTCR. Now, how do you feel that has affected the growth of the TCR concept worldwide? Because obviously now there is a World Cup in effect taking place with arguably the best touring car drivers and the top touring car teams taking part. What part do you feel that's played in the expansion of TCR this year?
Personally speaking, I think it's massive, because we've tried to explain, certainly from the UK perspective, we've tried to explain to teams and to drivers that TCR is a journey, not a destination. So you might start off in TCR UK. If you have a talented driver, you can take them from UK to Europe, to one of the other European championships. You can compete in the Middle East. You could go to Australia over the winter if you wanted, depending on where your sponsors are from. But now they can go all the way up to World Championship level. It's a World Cup, obviously, because it's not a manufacturer-led championship, but you can go all the way up to World Championship level. And then your driver can measure themselves at exactly what we were saying earlier at the pyramid, the national, the regional, and now the international world level. So if you've got someone like, I don't know, Dan Lloyd, Ash Sutton, any number of BTCC drivers, they can measure themselves against the best in Europe and now the best in the world.
And the prime example there, if we reference something else we speak on the program this evening, is obviously Gordon Shedden has had a really good weekend at Wuhan in China, where he's had a podium finish, took 3rd place in race 1, and then went on to actually win race 3 from pole. So, and I know from personal experience over the weekend, looking at social media, that was a very, very popular win for the Scotsman, and also well received by the fans as well, that are obviously former British touring car fans that followed him there, and also TCR fans that are following him on the world stage against some of the guys like Ivan Muller, Gabriele Tarquini, Ted Bjork, to name a few. There's also the sort of stage as well where, like you say, we've got quite a few British drivers involved. So Gordon Shedden, Rob Huff, and James Thompson for a while has been involved in WTCR this year. Josh Files and Reece Barr have been involved in TCR Europe as well. How the British contingent, there doesn't seem to be many British drivers out there internationally having a go. There's obviously, we almost seem a bit outnumbered, I suppose you could say, by some of the other countries taking part. But it's the fact of, we've got some of the best guys in the world competing in these championships, competing for race wins, fighting for titles. Do you feel that's a boost for TCR UK, for example, having a UK-based TCR series, knowing that there is the ladder there for UK drivers to look to make the move up the steps?
Well, there's 2 elements to that question. One, we've obviously had a very strong touring car tradition in the UK with the BTCC. It's important for us to recognise, they've been going for 60 years. It's the number 1 touring car championship in the UK. And we keep saying, look, we're not a threat. We're not at the same level. We're a level below them. but TCR is very different. It's structured very differently, and as I say, it's a means by which drivers can go from the UK to Europe or to Germany or to wherever, and then ultimately up to the world. So it's and I'm sorry to keep banging on about the cliche, but it's a journey, not a destination.
Yeah.
And we've already seen that with one of our drivers, Ollie Taylor, who's already competed at Monza, finished 10th in both races, so scored points. And Ollie and the team were delighted at the whole, the paddock, the ambience, this kind of the step up in level, and they can see the bigger picture. And I think others can as well. Talking to Carl Swift, when I rang him to do the quote for the press release about him coming back for Donington, Carl sees the bigger picture. And the fact that you're on the same tyres in the UK, on the Yokohamas, that you would be in Europe or at world level, that's a very much a level playing field, which I think maybe we struggled to get across at the beginning, because yes, the tyres are expensive, and we heard what the teams were telling us, but that means that they can compete on a level playing field with some of the best guys in the world, and we're already seeing one of our drivers, and I'm sure there'll be more to come, doing exactly that and moving up the pyramid.
And I must admit, from my point of view, having watched the TCR Europe races at Monza the other weekend, it was great seeing Ollie Taylor, getting mixed into the battles with people like Fabrizio Giovanardi. Let's be honest, one of the best touring car drivers in Europe, and a couple of BTCC titles to boot as well. Reece Barr getting involved, some of the regular TCR drivers all having a go with Ollie, and as you say, the feedback from Ollie over the weekend was he really enjoyed himself. It was a very hard-fought point in each race, but it's the fact if he was able to turn up with the same car, the same equipment, the same team, take on some of Europe's best and get really mixed into the action, which was good to see. And again, that also sort of adds to the point, as I was saying earlier, TCR Europe, for example, was a one-off event for Europe's best drivers to come and have a go at and try and win as a cup. This year, it's now a series. We've had 6 events out of 7 so far. How do you see that's worked out? Obviously, like I say, it's been a one-off event so far. It's now a series this year and offering a chance for the European drivers to, if they can't make the step up to WTCR, but they can make the step up from a domestic championship. How do you see that's worked out this year?
I think it's been a real success. I mean, I would say that I commentate on it.
Yeah.
When you compare, you go back a few years and you look at the difference between WTCC and ETCC. The ETCC was dominated by the Eastern Europeans, so the likes of Petr Fulin, and the Macedonians, the Serbians, that sort of thing. You've now got a European championship which is really competitive. We're going into the final round with, I think it's 5 drivers mathematically in with a chance of the title. I think realistically it's going to come down between Mikel Azcona from Spain, the youngster, and Jean-Carl Venet, who dominated Monza. But as a result, the car is going to be really heavy. Dusan Borkovic, I think we all saw the video. I'm not going to get drawn into that. We saw what it was. And I think because of that, for one reason or another, I think Dusan has pretty much ruled himself out of contention. But, mathematically, it's still possible for the 3 of them, and also for Attila Tashi and Danny Nage still to be in there scrapping as well. So I think we're getting to a stage in the TCR Europe series where we've got a cracking battle in store in the final 2 rounds. I think people are looking at TCR Europe, maybe some of the WTCR competitors who may be a midfield and below at the moment in WTCR, may be looking at Europe as a credible alternative next year. And I don't think you could have said that about ETCC, for example.
And obviously, we're talking. We're coming to the end of this season for TCR Europe, WTCR, TCR UK this weekend. So I know a lot of thinking. Obviously, drivers, teams looking for sponsorship, for backing, and also from the fans as well. Sort of looking towards next year to understand what's happening. I believe it'll be the 5th year we're looking at of TCR competition. So to make it to 5 years, first of all, with this concept is obviously a landmark to reach. With regards to 2019, obviously, if you can't say anything, I can understand completely. So we'll ask the questions I know some of the fans are going to be asking. One question we had last week on the live touring car show was, about having a UK round of WTCR. Now, is that something? I know it might not be something we see from WTCR. Obviously, we're waiting for Canada to be confirmed. Is that something maybe we could see from TCR Europe? Would they pay a visit to the UK shores? Do you think, or?
I can't really comment for either championship because obviously WTCR is done by Eurosport Events. It's an FIA series. TCR Europe is promoted by a Portuguese organisation. We're very much in a supporting role. So if you look behind the scenes, it's very much the same team that used to work on TCR International. So the same race director, the same timing guys. It's me, the same media team, the same broadcast guys. And we've just switched from international to Europe. And the switch has been seamless, as you can imagine. You're not the first person to ask. You won't be the last. And personally, I would love to see TCR Europe do a round in the UK. Obviously, we run in Europe with GT Open. There is a GT Open round at Silverstone. Whether we team up with them is one question. And then the next question would be, would TCR UK then be one of the support races and also on the same bill? And I think that would be a win-win for everybody. But I think we're a few steps away from it happening. But let's just say things are going on behind the scenes, and we'll leave it at that.
You've actually answered the other question I was going to ask, which is, could we see TCR UK on the support bill? The reason for thinking behind that is because I know with TCR International over its 3-year run, it teamed up with a lot of the domestic championships if they were in the first or second year of running, which seemed to boost their profile as well, having an international round at the same circuit. So I know, for example, TCR Russia, TCR Germany, we had TCR International rounds there as a couple of examples, and it got a lot of interest. To be honest, seeing the photos as well, when you've got all of the various cars from both fields all parked up on the circuit, I think was quite amazing because you had quite a few cars parked up there and looked really, really great. The UK fans, obviously, are going to be interested. I believe I've seen a question already so far in social media asking about next year. Do we have an idea yet of the 2019 calendar for TCR UK? Obviously, we've had 7 events this year were planned. Would there be any plans for expansion? We've had the one-day action at Alton Park, obviously for the various reasons of restriction, etc. Could we see any changes? How would TCR UK 2019 look so far?
I don't want to get drawn too much into it because we're at that stage now where the calendar is being finalised for next year.
Okay.
I think we're close to it coming out. But let's just say, hopefully, we've got a bit of a reputation for ourselves of doing things slightly differently, maybe shaking things up and not doing things maybe as people might expect. And that perhaps could be seen in next year's calendar. Or then again, it might not. I think we'll probably stay around the same number of events. Whether we go to the same circuits next year, I think that's currently being discussed.
Okay, and like I say, obviously, we'll look forward to that, when that's finalised and announced. And obviously, myself, I'll start planning to see what circuits I can visit, and also how many times the good wife will threaten divorce as well, as to how many I'm going to be at. Something else that's part of the TCR phenomenon is obviously the coverage. So TCR is based on having online coverage through YouTube, through the actual TCR Hub website itself as well. And obviously in the UK, a lot of the fans, again, thanks to the BTCC, etc. We're used to seeing live coverage on a TV channel as well as having it online. Another question, obviously, for 2019 is how is the broadcast package looking, the online package? Is that something that could change or stay the same? How do things look there as well?
The very first conversation I had with Jonathan about TCR UK was in a restaurant in Monza last year, and he said, "What do we need to do in terms of live streaming or broadcast or whatever?" And I said very firmly that we need to be live streaming. It's what people expect, and in fact, some of the TCR series that haven't live streamed. That's not gone down at all well with the fans, and I think they've had to rethink what they've done. From my point of view, and from a global fan's point of view, and I know you post links to TCR Italy, TCR China, TCR Russia on the Facebook page. When one of us has to watch all of the championships. So, for example, at the weekend, my colleagues were in China for WTCR, so I watched TCR Italy race 1, which was absolutely easy. My laptop was open, two screens. One had the live timing, one had the live feed. And even though it was Italian commentary, when you get an Italian commentator saying Stefanovski 5-second penalty track limits in English, I kind of worked out what was going on. So
exactly.
It's really easy to follow. And if you become a TCR fan, and I think I'm preaching to the converted, you are able to watch TCR racing pretty much throughout the year. And then once, obviously, Australia comes on stream, you've got Middle East going through the winter, you will be able to watch TCR pretty much all year round.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, like I say, obviously, so I try and share as much as I can in the various groups that I run. I take great pleasure in enjoying TCR Germany, I'll be honest, because yes, that's another series we have, apart from TCR Europe, TCR UK, WTCR, that has English commentary. Although there are times, I'll be honest, I've also enjoyed TCR Russia. I think it's been one of the most exciting series we've had racing out there. One final thing to sort of bring things to a close is obviously, we mentioned earlier, we talked about grid sizes and stuff for the championship. I think we've had a maximum entry of about 14 cars at Brands earlier in the year, and then we were down to 7 cars at Croft on the grid, again due to repairs, damages, people struggling with budgets, etc. There's been various reasons that's happened this year. Do you expect a sort of form of growth for 2019? I'm not talking something like TCR Germany, where they sort of added 20 cars overnight, it's seen over the winter. But is it something you feel, there could be more than the 12, sort of 13 cars we've had most of the year so far for next year?
I would have thought so. I mean, we've done what we said we were going to do, which was to deliver the 7 race weekends and also the live streaming and the social media and that sort of thing. We have to build on that now for year 2. And it'll be more important, I think, what happens in year 2 in a way that what happened in year 1, because we now need to see some growth. That said, I don't want to put any targets on it, because I'm sure that if we say we'll have, I don't know, pick a number, 24 cars on the grid, and we turn up at the first round with 22, then people will say we've missed our target. So I think we would be disappointed if we don't see a move forward in terms of grid numbers. I think people now know what TCR is, which wasn't the case 12 months ago. I think a lot of people were aware of TCR International, but didn't know where a TCR UK championship would fit into the great scheme of things. Here we are, as you say, we're in year 4 of TCR. We're now 600 plus, 700 plus cars, yeah. 30 plus championships, more to come. We've also expanded the social media offering. So you've now got the video magazine that I voice every month, wrapping up the various championships. So you mentioned Russia. So if you're not an avid watcher of TCR Russia, just by watching the half-hour video wrap-up, you'll know that Dmitry Bragin was on the verge of taking the title. He did at the last round at the weekend at Fort Grozny. So that will be in the next round of the next program at the beginning of November. So we're trying to make it as accessible as possible for people to watch the live streams, but also to catch up with TCR globally. And as I said, it's possible to watch TCR pretty much every weekend of the year. So if you're in America, which doesn't have a tradition of European-style touring car racing, once you've got the bug by watching Pirelli World Challenge or IMSA or whatever, you can then start watching UK, Germany, Italy, Russia, China, Thailand, Korea, Australia, and we could go on and on and on.
I can say pick a TCR series, any TCR series, and you can find it near enough anywhere online. As I said, this weekend we've got the TCR UK finale at Donington Park. We've got Ollie Taylor challenging Daniel Loyes for the first ever TCR UK title, to become the first ever title winner. You can, as we've spoken already during the interview, you can find all the information if you want to watch that online on YouTube and also on the TCR Hub website as well. There'll obviously be all the reports from the sites as to follow how things go with practice qualifying in both the races. And at the same time, as you'll find, it's not Mark, unfortunately, who does the commentating for TCR UK. That's Andy McEwen, who does just as good a job, actually. I think he's done quite well this year, coping with the various challenges he's had with the racing on track and everything. If you are going to the racing, like I say, I'll be there myself watching it live as a family day outing. I'm not sure how I've gotten away with this one, but I seem to. And I'll be looking forward to catching up with some of the drivers, having met them at Silverstone myself at the start of the year and seeing how things have progressed. Mark, I can presume you're obviously going to be there in a very hard-working fashion, keeping everything running as smoothly as possible as you have done all year. And congratulations on a good job so far.
Thanks very much. I think you've probably been able to spot that my voice still hasn't recovered from when I was at Croft and had an absolute soaking on the Friday, getting the banners and the flags and everything back out. But no, it's been a really good year. I've got to say a huge thanks to, we only have a small team in TCR UK. Jen Maratsing has done a fantastic job as championship manager, keeping everything together. You mentioned the broadcast team, Andy, the commentator, Bryn Lucas, who's our front of camera man. I think I've really struck it lucky with those two. We have recommendations for the pair, and I'm pleased to say that they were absolutely spot on. They've done a great job for us. We hit the ground running at Silverstone. I think a number of people expected us to fail, wanted us to fail for whatever reason, but we haven't. We've delivered exactly what we said we were going to do. I think the year has been a success, certainly from our point of view, and we now need to build on that over the winter. But there is the small matter of the championship finale to go, and so we're looking forward to another good race weekend this weekend, and I'll see you there, Phil.
Brilliant. Mark, thank you very much for coming on Touring Car Talk this evening and speaking to us about all manner of things of TCR as well as TCR UK. And I look forward to seeing you at the weekend and enjoying a cracking set of races to see who comes out as champion.
Brilliant. See you there. Thanks very much.
Motorsport Radio.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Ray from the Kawasaki Racing Team.
Hi, this is Nick Hamilton.
Hi, I'm Jamie Chadwick.
Hey everyone, I'm Bradley Smith.
Hi, I'm Joanne Zacco.
Hi, I'm Bradley Wright.
Hi, I'm Seb Morris.
Hi, I'm Dan Linfoot from Honda Racing British Superbike Team, and this is Motorsport Radio.